Okay, let's go ahead and get this showcase started. Welcome, parents. Thank you so much for joining us and seeing all the progress your children have made these past 2 weeks. It has been such a pleasure getting to know each and every one of them. And I have a presentation to show each of you. And this will help explain a little bit of what we have been going through these past couple of weeks. So here is our class. As you can see, they're a very fun bunch. I have so enjoyed working with them. By the way, I am Adrienne. I've been the one sending you your daily emails each and every day, charting the progress that we have been making these past couple of weeks. So here are the members of our class. The first one is Bowen Zhu. Bowen has been such a wonderful student to work with. We had these paper plate awards earlier today, and they were just unique awards for each of the students. And Bowen's was his smiliness. He is a very smiley and cheerful person. And he has also been a very tenacious student. He has worked extremely hard. He takes comments that I give him very seriously, and he adapts well. And he is very much an initiator in the class. Whenever I asked a question or asked somebody to volunteer to present their speech first or whatever it was, he was always the first one, very enthusiastic. And he was an excellent organizer. So the skill that he definitely showed in speech and in debate is his ability to take information that he has compiled together and organize it very, very clearly. Next, we have Emma, and her strength that she showed these last couple of weeks is her amazing ability to explain information well. You'll hear this a little bit in her introduction of her opening speech later on in the debates. She is able to take information and walk you through a story very well. Her paper plate award was most likely to be an author because of this. And her curiosity definitely showed in her cross-examination questions. As you will see, this was a huge strength of hers as well. She's just very skilled in asking excellent cross-examination questions that really probe the opponent so that they have to come up with a good answer. And then we have Eva. She's actually the youngest one in our class. The age range was pretty big for a class this size. And she just kept up with speed with everybody. You would not know that she was like 3 years younger than some of the other students in this class. But don't let her sweet face fool you. She has such a strong work ethic, and that was her strength. She was able to work so hard last week and this week to construct excellent speeches, either on the spot, as you'll see in debates, or ahead of time, preparing, researching, putting her thoughts together excellently. So that is Eva. And then we have Isaac. He is most definitely our soccer kid. He loved bringing in soccer into just about every conversation, and that was his paper plate award today. He is able to present information in a very concise manner. This man does not waste words, and this was very effective for time management in debate. As you will see, the less words that you waste, the more you're able to focus on substantive content that you can get out there. And then the more content that you have, the more your opponent has to respond to. And the likelihood of you having information that stands at the end of the debate is a lot higher. So it was wonderful to see him use this skill effectively in debate. And then finally, we have Kevin. He is calm, cool, collected, but when you get him speaking in debate, he uses a lot of passion. His brain seems to always be moving. He has a very quick mind. He's a very quick thinker. He's able to think on his feet very well. And the thing he had to work on, though, is being able to take that info and then organize it. But you will see today that he was willing to debate 2 times for this showcase. So we had an odd number of 5 students. So one person had to debate 2 times, and Kevin was willing to do so. You may hear some information repeated, but that's because he's presenting the same opening speech a couple of times. So we'll begin this showcase shortly. Now that you've met all the individuals, I just wanted to say a couple of quick remarks on the class as a whole. I have been working for Capital Debate since about 2019, and this is by far the most diligent class I have ever worked with. And I wouldn't say that if it wasn't true. They were able to use their time effectively when I gave them lots of work time. So in Capital Debate, we do not treat this like school, although they're getting a lot of work done for debates. So I would give them lots of work time during the day, kind of give them goals to accomplish. And every single time they accomplished those goals all by themselves, they were able to adapt also to information that I gave them, whether it was after they gave a speech and comments I had afterwards, but they were very flexible with what I was able to tell them based on their progress throughout the week. So it's been such a joy working with them, and I'm so glad you get to see this progress for yourselves during the live stream. So you will see a series of 3 debates, and in each individual debate, each student will present 3 speeches. The first speech that each opponent will present is the opening speech. This is basically the persuasive speech that they gave last week, just adapted for debate. And then following that will be their refutation, where they will both attack their opponent's arguments from their opening speech, and then secondly, they will defend any attacks given by their opponent to their speech. So they have a little bit of a dual responsibility for this refutation speech. And then finally, they'll have only a 2-minute closing speech, not a lot of time, to summarize the key points of the debate. And then you will hear them give you a final call to vote in favor of their side. Throughout this debate, you will most likely hear them say, please vote for the pro or please vote for the con. Although nobody's actually judging, we're trying to get them prepared for when they are in a competitive debate style. So they are going to plead with you and persuade you onto their side. That is their goal. You also will notice that there are a couple other periods of time during the debate that are not speeches. One is prep time and the other is cross-examination. Prep time, they each get 2 minutes to take this time to prepare what they're going to say in the next speech. They can use this time however they want to, whenever they want to in the debate. You may see them use it before cross-examination, before refutation, or before the closing, however they want to divvy it up. This is strategic for them to put together their thoughts, since some of the speeches in the debate are constructed mostly during the debate. And then the second extra time, or second extra bit of time during the debate that you will see outside of the speeches, is cross-examination. This is a lot of questions. One opponent will ask the other one questions, and then there'll be a second period of time during cross-examination where the opposite opponent will ask his opponent questions as well. During this time, they're trying to gather information and also trying to point out any weaknesses in their opponent's case before they even get to the refutation. So in a way, they're kind of prepping you for any of the attacks or defenses they will engage in during the refutation. So those are all the individual portions of the debate that you will see. So let us get into the debates. First, we will have Isaac Kim versus Kevin Nguyen, if you guys can turn on your cameras. And on each of these slides, you'll see the resolution that we have been working on the past couple of weeks, which is electric vehicles should replace gas vehicles. You will hear this as the basis of their side. If they are pro, they are in favor of this. If they are con, they think that electric vehicles should not replace gas vehicles. All right, let me stop sharing my screen and we will get into the debate. All right, we are going to begin with the pro opening speech. It is a total of 4 minutes long. Isaac, you are free to start whenever you're ready.
Okay. Did you know that a gallon of gas produces 19 pounds of carbon dioxide, according to housegrail.com in 2022? That means that your average car is producing 228 pounds of carbon dioxide per gas station visit. But there's a solution. Electric vehicles should replace gas vehicles. They're better for the environment, the public health, and the economy. First, electric vehicles are better for the environment. On wheelsforwishes.org in 2021 it says, "It's simple, electric vehicles are better for the environment, whether they're powered by solar or batteries. There are no emissions from electric vehicle tailpipes." On motorbiscuit.com in 2020 it says, "According to research done by the Swedish Environment Institute, the moment an electric car is manufactured, up to 17.5 tons of carbon dioxide is emitted by the making of the average electric car battery." While on EPA.gov in 2021 it says, "A typical passenger vehicle emits about 4.6 metric tons of carbon dioxide per year." Even though this seems like a big difference, on Autotrader.com in 2019 it says, "While the average length of time drivers keep a new vehicle is 71.4 months, which is around 6 years. This means that driving a gas vehicle will still produce more carbon. This is important because dangerous carbon emission increases global warming, which is detrimental to our planet." Second, another reason why EVs should replace gas vehicles is because they're better for the public health. On MotorBiscuit.com in 2015 it says, "It is estimated that as many as 9,600 people die every year from respiratory ailments, most of which is due to prolonged exposure to smog. EVs will eliminate this problem, which will especially help in densely populated areas, such as New York City. It will mean that 10,000 people could live to see another day. This matters because people all around the world can be safer and healthier just by switching to electric vehicles." Third, electric vehicles are better for the economy. On energy.nv.gov in 2014 it says, "EVs provide economic benefits to the state by reducing fuel costs and shifting consumption away from imported oil to more locally produced electric sources." On energy.nv.gov it also says, "EVs help create jobs and provide economic and air quality benefits. This will help the economy. More people will get jobs, which will lower the unemployment rate, which right now is 10.1 million people." On EPI.org it says, "If BEVs, battery electric vehicles, rise to 50% of domestic auto sales by 2030, 150,000 jobs in the auto industry could be created. This will lower fuel dependency. Right now, other countries can change oil prices as they please, and we are at their mercy. EVs will make our economy more stable." In conclusion, EVs should replace gas vehicles. They are better for the environment, for the public health, and the economy. The car you may be possibly driving is releasing hundreds of pounds of carbon dioxide per gas station visit, but you can change all of this just by switching to EVs. This is why you should vote for the Pro.
Thank you, Isaac. And now we will move on to cross-examination. It'll be 2 minutes long.
All right, Isaac, can you do me a favor and repeat how many unemployed people there are in your speech?
Yeah, sure. There's 10.1 million people
All right,
right
awesome.
now.
And you know that for the charging station, it takes nearly $30 billion to get to the amount of charging stations we need for completely the United States. And how would you suggest we achieve that $30 billion?
Well, I'll talk about that in my refutation.
All right, and last question, how would you suggest we get enough of the lithium supplies for all of the cars and charging stations?
Well, that I will also talk about in my refutation, but yeah,
No further questions.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now we'll move on to Kevin's con opening speech.
Electric vehicles, obviously with the new technology that our generation is lucky enough to have, seems like a better option than the typical gasoline-powered vehicles. Yes, electric cars can reduce fewer gas emissions. Yes, a large number of emissions are from gas cars. Yes, electric cars are better for the environment. And yes, gas cars are the source of medical issues and the smog that suddenly results in fatalities. But I'm not here to tell you that gas cars are better than electric cars. I'm here to tell you that eliminating gas vehicles and replacing them with EVs is not possible because there's not enough money and not enough supplies. First of all, there will need to be enough charging stations for the cars. According to Automotive, in 2020, there are currently 42,000 charging stations in the United States. Currently, the government has a budget of $15 billion. To expand to the number of stations we need for a complete EV United States, the government will need a budget of $45 billion. EVs may be better than gasoline cars, but with the amount of charging stations that are required, the EV takeover is not possible. According to Metalary, for every 1% increase in the market penetration in the EV battery, there is around 70,000 tons of lithium in the increase a year. 1 ton of lithium in 2020 is around $17,000. This will equivalent to nearly $1,190,000,000 a year. This is not saving money. Even if we had the budget for the $45 billion to upgrade to around 1.5 million new charging stations, which is already near impossible, we don't even have the number of resources to make the stations. We don't have the money, nor do we have the materials. According to Electric in 2022, the Model S Tesla is estimated to have around 63 kilograms of lithium in a singular battery pack. Using that 63 kilograms, that is nearly equivalent to the lithium used in 10,000 cell phones. With this much lithium and the rise in lithium prices 2019, we're not really saving money here. According to Statista, there's around 750,000 metric tons of lithium in the United States. Keep in mind that this amount keeps decreasing as the lithium supply is decreasing. Lithium needs to be mined and is not an easy process to distribute lithium. Keeping in mind that there is 750,000 metric tons of lithium and 1 Tesla battery is 63 kilograms of lithium, using every single ton of the lithium in the United States, which would be disastrous, considering that lithium is a necessary resource, there will only be 11.3 million Tesla cars. According to Hedge, there are 287 million cars in the United States. Even if half of those cars were electrical, which is not true, the availability of lithium is not enough to sustain all the cars. Keep in mind, if we put all of our lithium supply into the production of cars, which is not a possibility because we need lithium for cell phones, laptops, cameras, etc., there would not be enough lithium for the charging stations, which takes a lot of lithium as well. All in all, if we put all of our lithium into charging stations, there wouldn't be enough. And if we put all of our lithium into gas cars, there wouldn't be enough. Even if EVs are better, replacing all gas cars for EVs are impossible. Electric cars provide incredibly important benefits. They help the environment, they reduce noise pollution, they help prevent many other problems. But this doesn't matter if it's not possible to switch. It's not possible because there's not enough money and not enough supplies. Thank you.
Wonderful. And now we move on to a second round of cross-examination.
Okay, so Kevin, do you know how much lithium is needed for a charging station?
For a singular charging station?
Yeah, for a singular charging station.
I do not know that information.
Okay. Wait, so how much charging stations are needed? Do you know?
We need around 1.5 million new charging stations, and currently we have 42,000.
Okay, and why do we need 1.5 million charging stations?
Well, right now, the 42,000 charging stations is not enough. Compared to the gas stations, there's a gas station nearly every 1.5 miles. So we need definitely a lot more charging stations for every single car in the United States and the world to be electric.
Okay. And so can you repeat the quote on the cost of the lithium?
Yeah, sure. According to Metalary, for every 1% increase in the market penetration in the EV battery, there's an increase around 70,000 tons of lithium a year. 1 ton of lithium in 2020 is around $17,000. This will result in nearly $1,190,000,000 a year.
Okay. That is it.
All right. At this point in time, we are moving on to the refutation speeches. They are each 3 minutes long.
Can I have a minute of prep time?
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, that is the end of your prep time. You have 3 minutes for your refutation.
Okay. In my refutation, I will be talking about how creating EVs is feasible and how creating EVs aren't as expensive as Kevin says. In his argument, he says currently the government has a budget of $15 billion. To expand the number of stations we need for the complete EV US, the government will need a budget of $45 billion. Well, on thebalance.com in 2021, it says the US government's total revenue is estimated to be $3.863 trillion. This means that the US can certainly increase the budget. An extra $30 billion is practically nothing to the US government. In Kevin's argument, he also says 1 ton of lithium in 2020 is around $17,000. This will result in nearly $1 billion a year. In 2022, on batteriesnews.com, it says researchers have identified an alternative to lithium-based battery technology by developing sodium glassy electrodes capable of supporting long-duration grid-scale energy storage. On electrochem.org in 2017, it says researchers say that's why they are basing the new battery on widely available sodium-based electrode material that costs just $150 a ton. This means that the $1 billion fee that Kevin said will decrease to just $10.5 million. On Kevin's argument, he also says, according to Statista, there is around 750,000 metric tons of lithium in the US. He also says 1 Tesla battery is 63 kilograms of lithium. Then he says, according to Hedge, there are 287 million cars in the US. Even if half of these cars were electric, which is not true, the availability of lithium is not enough to sustain all the cars. He is assuming that we won't trade for lithium. But on BetterMeetsReality.com in 2022 it says, owing to continuing exploration, identified lithium resources have increased sustainability worldwide and totals about 80 billion tons. If we multiply 287 million cars by 63, the amount of kilograms per lithium battery, it'll total out to around 18 billion kilograms of lithium, which is around 20 billion tons of lithium. This means that there is still plenty of lithium for America to turn all electric. Kevin says that charging electric vehicles aren't feasible and way too expensive, but this is clearly not the case. This is why you should vote for the Pro.
All right, now it's time for Kevin's refutation speech.
All right, I don't need any prep time.
Okay.
Isaac's points are incredibly solid. The only thing is he relies on a small string of assumptions. Not only just assumptions, but he put many other things of pure logic. Isaac said in quotes, the US government total revenue is estimated to be $3.863 trillion. This means that the government can increase the EV budget. An extra 30 billion is practically nothing to the US government. He said this in response to me saying that there wasn't enough money for the government to add 1.5 million new charging stations. First of all, the government is in tremendous debt. We don't have enough money for $30 billion for the charging stations, not including all of the extra costs that we would have to include for the car batteries, parts, factories, as well as how to recycle all of the cars, which I'll get into later. In fact, the government currently has $28.43 trillion in federal debt. Yes, trillion. I actually have a graph here. I'm not sure if you can see, the dots are incredibly tiny. Each one of these dots is $1 billion the government has in debt. This equivalents to $28.43 trillion in debt. I'm not sure $30 billion is even feasible. With all of the money that the government is using on public transportation, libraries, playgrounds, schools, etc., and with our world's problem like hunger, gun problems, mental awareness, etc., we don't have nearly enough money. Bringing it back to the point where I said we don't have enough money to recycle, I mean, what are we going to do about the millions of gas cars currently? Isaac is proposing we switch completely to EV, which will leave hundreds of millions of cars to be tossed in the dumpster. You may think we can just recycle these cars safely by decomposing the parts. But with the 287 million cars in the United States, as stated before, alone, how are we going to recycle all of it? You can't just imagine these cars will be replaced with electric ones. It's all a fantasy and not possible. Another solution to this problem, we can just ask all the families to recycle these cars themselves. May sound like a great idea, but currently the government cannot control people from recycling a piece of paper and a couple pieces of plastic. All these things still end up in the dumpsters. How are we going to replace all of these gas cars? Isaac also said there was an alternative to lithium. Well, first, let me tell you about the negative effects of lithium. Lithium is the catalyst to many horrific climate change damages. For example, a whopping 2.2 million liters of water is needed to produce 1 ton of lithium, according to Era News in 2020. Excuse me. Lithium extraction also harms the soil and can cause air contamination. In fact, there may be alternatives to the lithium batteries that will have little to no effect on the environment. For example, sodium batteries, as I stated. However, sodium is 3 times heavier than lithium, which means sodium-ion batteries are also heavier. Sodium batteries may also produce less powerful because they have less cell voltage. However, these new sodium alternatives don't have the same high energy density and capacity to be combined with renewable energy sources to support grid-level energy storage as lithium batteries do. Okay, fine. In the future, scientists will develop a way that the sodium batteries are more usable than lithium. But first, that's an assumption. And second, does this matter if the economy will crash? You understand why? Let me fill you in. If you replace all gas cars, the gas companies that supply us gas, as well as their stocks, will inevitably plummet. It's inevitable because how will these companies make money? There's going to be a giant hole in the economy because those companies will go out of business. Exxon has a market cap of 352 billion, Shell with 180 billion, Chevron with 280 billion, BP with 80 billion, all of these combined. How are we going to let all of these companies die down? Thank you.
Very good. And let's move on to the final closing speeches. They're 2 minutes apiece.
Can I have a minute of prep time?
Yep. All right, that's time.
Okay. Electric vehicles should clearly replace gas vehicles. They are better for the environment, the public health, and the economy. I should win this debate because I successfully provided good reasons and I successfully refuted Kevin's 2 points. My opponent will have you believe that electric vehicles aren't possible and are bad for the environment and are too expensive, but I clearly proved otherwise. If Kevin has his way, 9,600 people will still continue to die every year. If Kevin has his way, tons of carbon emission will continue to be released into the atmosphere, which will make our already big problem of global warming even bigger. Would you rather live in a world with a clean environment, better public health, and a more stable economy, or in a world where people are constantly dying from smog and our environment will just keep on getting worse? This is why you should vote for the pro.
Very good. And now we have the con closing speech.
I'll take my prep time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that is time.
All in all, switching to a complete EV world is not possible. It may sound good on paper, but it's all just a fantasy. We cannot just imagine switching and all cars will turn into EVs. I just say that I agree with Isaac for the most part. EVs are better than gas cars. Yes, and EVs should replace gas cars in a perfect and utopian world. But we live in a dystopian world with infinite problems and life is not just a dream. Sometimes things don't come to reality, and that's okay. If this does become a reality, though, the world's economy will crash because all of the gas companies in other countries that supply us gas will not generate any revenue from the industry, as well as our necessary resources, most importantly, lithium will deplete. Isaac's points are valid. Tons of carbon emission will still be in the atmosphere, but is it even possible to switch? No. As all of my points are stated, with the government with $29 trillion, the economy crashing, with hundreds of millions of gas stations going out of business and their stocks with trillions and trillions of dollars worth of companies will go to zero. I'm not sure that's what's ideal here, even though it may seem like it. Not including successfully recycling all of these cars safely and putting these gas cars to good use after the clean EV switch. I've successfully proven that this is impossible. Isaac has also not mentioned anything about all of my points stated above in my refutation speech. Therefore, my reasoning still stands. I'm not even talking about the money we do not have. All in all, we cannot just imagine beautiful things. It's not possible. Just because we stay to gas cars doesn't mean we can't expand our EV industry. Would you rather live in a world which is not a utopia at all, but is stable? Or would you rather live in an EV world, which in other words is just a fantasy one? Thank you.
Awesome. Great job, guys. Now we will have the girls present their debate. Let me share this screen really quick. So next we will have Eva Shen versus Emma Thomas. Eva's on the pro, Emma is on the con. All right, Eva, you have 4 minutes.
Imagine that you're walking around your neighborhood when suddenly a car drives by, exhaust pouring out its tailpipe, making you cough uncontrollably. Gasoline cars are the cause of this, and people suffer from it every day. Despite this, there is a solution. EVs should replace gas cars because they help the environment, they reduce oil dependency, and they're less expensive to power and maintain. First, EVs reduce pollution and are less dangerous. Because there are no tailpipe emissions, EVs reduce air pollution. According to solarreviews.com in 2022, because there is no exhaust system, electric cars are known for operating smoothly and quietly. Solarreviews.com also states that the EPA, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, states one gasoline-powered car emits an average of 4.6 metric tons of carbon dioxide every year, while EVs emit no greenhouse gases, making it more environmentally friendly. If gas vehicles remain on the road, their emissions will lead to greenhouse gases and increasing climate change. Both negatively affect people's health and well-being. Second, EVs decrease oil dependency on other countries. EVs don't use oil, therefore countries without oil don't need to be dependent on other countries for fuel. Since we use fossil fuels to make oil, we could easily run out since fossil fuels are not renewable. This causes some countries to become dependent on others with more oil. According to VisionLaunch.com, the Middle East is rich in oil and we are highly dependent on them. EVs will lead to countries' independence as well as keeping economies stable. Lastly, EVs are less expensive to power than gas vehicles and easier to maintain. This is because you can charge your car at home and the cost of gasoline is rising rapidly, especially in 2022. According to Vitana.org, the electricity to charge EVs is at least 25% less expensive than gasoline. According to MotorBiscuit.com in 2022, EVs use simpler components, making it cheaper to maintain. Gas cars are full of parts that can break at any time. Although it costs more to buy an EV, in the long run, gas cars are more expensive to power than EVs. Thus, EVs save money. To summarize, EVs should replace gas cars. Altogether, EVs are more environmentally friendly, they allow countries to be independent, and they are less expensive. If EVs become more dominant, the next time you're out walking, you won't have to worry about exhaust sending you into a coughing fit. For these reasons, please vote in favor of the pro side of this debate.
Very good. Let's move on to cross-examination.
Okay. You're saying that EVs are going to make countries independent, but aren't countries like the US dependent on other countries to get materials for an EV, such as lithium ion?
Yes, but they're also very dependent on other countries for fuel.
Yeah, but you're saying that if we stop using gas cars, EVs are going to like make all countries independent. Like, so what's the difference between EVs and gas cars being dependent on countries for different reasons?
Well, I guess for the gas, they're very dependent on other countries, like the Middle East has a lot of it.
Yeah, and EVs are also dependent on countries like China and Japan for lithium ion.
That might be true, but right now, a lot of the dependency is focused on fuel and gas and stuff.
Okay. You're also saying that EVs reduce air pollution, but don't they pollute the air while being manufactured?
Yes, but over time, so gas vehicles emit 4.6 tons of carbon dioxide every year. But for EVs, only once for one car, it's 17.5 tons. So over time, gas cars will definitely have more carbon dioxide emitted.
You're saying over time, gas cars are going to overweigh the amount of carbon dioxide emitted from EVs. But if your goal is for EVs to replace gas cars, EVs are still going to emit gas no matter what.
Yes, but they emit much less than gas cars.
But technically it won't matter in the future if your goal is to have EVs replace gas cars fully. And then my last one is, okay.
We're actually out of time.
Okay.
Great job. We'll move on to your opening speech, Emma.
Okay. Imagine you're going on a road trip with your family in the brand new electric car you just bought a month ago. You expected that your car would go for a few hours, no problem, but you were wrong. You're in the middle of a one-lane road and your battery's about to run out. You look on your phone for the nearest charging station that is 40 minutes away, and your battery's only going to last for another 10. You're stuck and won't be able to arrive to your destination on time. Your last option is to call a gas-powered tow truck. You shouldn't have to waste your precious time on your electric car. Electric vehicles should not replace gas vehicles for this very reason. Because for one, gas cars are more convenient than EVs, and two, EVs don't actually help the environment. Gas cars are more convenient than EVs. When a gas car is charging, they will take around 5 minutes to completely charge, and you can drive for 400 more miles with just that one fill up. On the contrary, electric cars will take around 30 minutes to 8 hours, depending on your charger's level, according to the KBB. You can see this really isn't practical if you need to get somewhere when you want to. You might be thinking, but what if I get a charger for my house? Well, guess what? You can get a charger to keep at home for the price of $1,700, according to the COM. And remember, it will take at least 30 minutes to charge, at least. Say you don't have anywhere to keep your charger. You're going to have to find a charging station, which won't be easy. It's not like finding your local gas station that's 5 minutes away. You have no idea if an EV charging station is going to be 15 minutes away or 45. There just aren't enough charging stations in the world. This matters because if EVs take over, it will be time consuming. You will be wasting people's time and in a way, limiting their freedom to go where they want, when they want. This is why gas cars are more convenient than EVs. 2, EVs don't actually help the environment. Just because electric cars don't release gas while you're driving one doesn't mean that they aren't one of the big reasons why fossil fuels are getting released into the ozone. Electric cars are only as green as their sources, which really aren't that green. Electric cars are made with batteries instead of internal combustion engines that gas cars have to fuel up. To make batteries for electric cars, you need a lot of materials. These batteries are made out of materials such as lithium, cobalt, and aluminum. All these materials have to be mined in order to receive them. and one mine release a lot of gas. Did you know that mining contributes to climate change by 6%? Yeah, it's a lot. Another thing is that those materials are going to run out if we keep mining them, and their prices will escalate if that does happen. This matters a lot because EVs are damaging the only Earth we have. To conclude, electric cars should not take over gas cars because gas cars are more convenient and electric cars don't actually help the environment. So just stick with the gas car and make sure so you won't have, stay with the gas car, save your money on something better than wasting it on an electric car so you won't get stuck in the middle of the road having to call a gas-powered tow truck to pick your car up when you were planning to have a vacation. Please vote in favor of the con side, gas cars.
Very good. And now you have 2 minutes for cross-examination.
So isn't mining for like the materials to make EVs as bad as mining for the same as mining for fossil fuels to power gas cars?
Yes, exactly. So if EVs were to replace gas cars, it wouldn't make a difference.
Okay. So how much does only mining materials for EVs like lithium, cobalt, and aluminum produce? Like only those materials.
Those materials they would all still contribute to climate change. I don't have the exact number, but they would definitely be part of that 6%, probably like around 1 to 2%.
Okay, that's all my question.
Very good. And let's move on to the refutation speeches. Would you like to take any prep time, Eva? No? Okay.
In this speech, I am refuting my opponent Emma's arguments. First, with increased demand, the amount of charger stations will increase. For example, according to www.energy.gov in 2013, there were about 18,000 charging stations. According to www.statista.com in 2022, there are about 41,000 charging stations currently. Second, for one EV, about 17.5 tons of carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere, according to climate.mit.edu in 2022. According to the EPA, every year, an average gas car emits 4.6 tons of carbon dioxide. Even though EVs produce more carbon, as years go by, the 4.6 tons will continue to multiply and will ultimately outweigh the amount of CO2 produced when manufacturing EVs. As for lithium, the same goes for fossil fuels. Mining for coal and fossil fuels is necessary to power gasoline cars, and burning fossil fuels will add on to the CO2 emitted into the atmosphere. And third, even though it takes a long time to charge your EV, you can charge it overnight, just like your phone. Even though it costs $1,700 to get a charger for your house, after you pay that one and only $1,700, you don't have to pay any more. But with gas, you have to pay for gas every time you visit a gas station. EVs should replace gas cars because they reduce pollution, they reduce oil dependency, and they are less expensive.
Okay, thank you. And then Emma, it's time for your refutation speech.
Okay. I will be refuting my opponent Eva's argument. Eva said that EVs release no greenhouse gas emissions while gas cars release 4.6 metric tons of gas in her argument each year. This isn't true because according to the AFDC, energy.gov, EVs produce 17.5 tons of CO2 when being manufactured. This is 3.5 more times than the amount of gas released in a gas car each year. So this means there are 1.8 million electric vehicles as of today, that would mean 315 million tons of CO2 have been released because of electric cars. Just do the math, it's simple. 2, Eva said that EVs will reduce a dependency on other countries for materials such as oil. which is true that we won't be dependent on countries for oil, but we will be dependent on countries for other materials used to make an EV battery. From what I have found from bestmag.uk is that China accounted for 80% of the lithium-ion batteries as of 2020. Eva is saying that EVs will make countries more independent, but if we are so dependent on countries such as China to make batteries for an EV, EVs aren't going to make the US independent. Eva also said EVs are easier to maintain just because they have less parts. This is an assumption that just because EVs have less parts, they are much easier to maintain. But the thing is that it's hard to find someone to help you when your EV is damaged or not working, because not many people have the knowledge about EVs as they are relatively new. Eva is saying that the more EVs that get created, more charging stations will be created. She is also saying that over time, gas cars will outweigh the amount of gas being released by EVs. Eva is ignoring the fact that if we completely replace gas cars with EVs, that 21 billion tons of CO2 will be released if EVs fully take over gas cars. To conclude my refutation, my opponent is making multiple assumptions, so this is why you should vote in favor of the con side.
All right, thank you. And now we'll move on to the closing speeches.
Okay, to conclude, EVs should replace gas cars. They produce less greenhouse gases even when you add on to the amount released when mining and manufacturing. They keep economies stable since other countries can raise gas prices as they please, and electricity is 25% less expensive than gas, making EVs less expensive. Would you rather live in a world where greenhouse gases are clogging the air, where economy is constantly unstable, and where you have to pay high maintenance prices? Or would you want to live in a world where the air is clean and fresh, where the economy is stable, and where you don't have to pay expensive gas prices? Please vote for the pro side of this debate.
All right, thank you. And then Emma.
Is online prep time?
Yep. Okay, that's time. Let's hear the con closing speech.
Okay. To conclude, I should win because gas cars are very convenient, like when it comes to finding a charging station or someone to help repair your gas car, unlike EVs, that when you're trying to find a charging station or someone to help repair or fix your EV, it's harder. And two, that EVs damage the earth just as much as a gas car could. And they also are just as dependent on other countries as gas cars are. So this is why I should win, because because gas cars are more convenient than EVs, and EVs damage the earth just as much as gas cars. This is why you should vote in favor of the con side, gas cars.
Wonderful. Thank you, too. And we'll get started with the final debate. The final debate has Owen on the pro, and then Kevin once again debating on the con. Feel free to start when you're ready with the pro opening speech, Bowen.
Okay. Did you know that the average gasoline-powered car produces about 4.6 metric tons of greenhouse gases per year? This is according to the United States Environmental Protection Agency in 2021. Now, imagine that number in your head and multiply by about 1 billion for the approximate number of gas cars in the world. Yes, that is how much pollution gas cars are causing. On the other hand, electric cars produces no emissions when driving. Therefore, electric cars should replace gas cars because 1, they'll be better for the environment, 2, they're more comfortable to drive in, and 3, they're less expensive to recharge. First of all, electric cars produces less emissions than gas-powered cars. This is because EVs do not have tailpipes that releases emissions into the air. And even if you added the amount of emissions produced when manufacturing the vehicle and the batteries, the overall emissions will still be drastically less than gas cars. Thus, EVs will still be better for the environment than gas cars. According to the EPA, United States Environmental Protection Agency in 2022, that the greenhouse gas emissions associated with an electric vehicle over its lifetime are typically lower than those from an average gasoline-powered vehicle, even when accounting for manufacturing. The EIA, United States Energy Information Agency, states in a study in 2021 that in computer-based models, rising concentrations of greenhouse gases produces an increase in the average surface temperature of the Earth over time. Rising temperature may also produce an increase changes in precipitation patterns, storm severity, and sea levels. Collectively, this is called climate change. Now, this is extremely important because switching to EVs can greatly reduce the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere and thus slow down and even reduce climate change. Second of all, electric cars are much more comfortable to drive in. This is because gas cars uses an internal combustion engine, which is extremely slow to accelerate and is extremely loud. While on the other hand, electric motors on EVs can start from 0 miles per hour and get to top speeds in sometimes less than 2 seconds. Not only that, but an electric car's engine is also much more quieter than a gas-powered car. The article AutoWeek stated that electric motors generates peak torque from a dead stop. So there's an immediacy to the power and acceleration that can't be matched in a vehicle powered by an internal combustion engine. The immediate torque and acceleration can make electric cars exhilarating to drive. In fact, many people report that driving an electric car is much more relaxing than driving a gas car because of the lack of engine noise. This is important because it helps people's mental health and overall makes them happier. Lastly, electric cars cost less to recharge than gas cars. Most of the cars driving around the world right now are fueled by gas, which is getting more and more expensive. While on the other hand, electricity is costing a lot less than gasoline. The article Energy Sage recently stated in a study on EVs in 2022 that based on driving a compact sedan, you'll pay approximately just 4 cents per mile to charge your EV sedan compared to an astonishing 14 cents to fuel your gas-powered sedan. Since EVs are a lot less expensive to charge, more people would save money and the economy would improve. To conclude, electric cars clearly should replace gas cars because EVs benefit the environment. Second, they increase our driver's comfort. And lastly, they recharge less expensively. By voting for the pro side, you can prevent the 4.6 metric tons of greenhouse gases from being released into the atmosphere by gasoline-powered cars every year.
All right, thank you. And now we have cross-examination.
All right, Bowen.
Okay.
First question I want to ask is, how was your day so far?
On a scale 1 to 10, I'm feeling in between 1 and 10. Thank you very much. How about
That's
you?
great. That is absolutely great. I'm feeling pretty good too. Moving on, can you repeat the part where you said how many people prefer the EV sound because there's no sound over gas cars? Can you repeat that part, please?
Yes, I can. According to Audit Week, it's just that according to a poll that they had, most of the people report that driving electric cars more relaxing. It's not an exact number, but overall, on a higher spectrum, overall, many people report that driving electric cars much more relaxing.
And do you know what year that was?
That was in 2022.
2022? All right. No further questions. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, now it's time for Kevin's opening speech.
Electric vehicles, obviously with the new technology that our generation is lucky enough to have, seem like a better option than the typical gasoline-powered vehicles. Yes, electric cars can produce fewer gas emissions. Yes, a large number of emissions are from gas cars. Yes, electric cars are better for the environment. And yes, gas cars are the source of medical issues and the smog that sometimes results in fatalities. But I'm not here to tell you that gas cars are better than electric cars. I'm here to tell you that eliminating gas vehicles or replacing them with EVs is not possible because there's not enough money and not enough supplies. First of all, there would need to be enough charging stations for the cars. According to Automotive in 2022, there are currently 42,000 charging stations in the United States. Currently, the government has a budget of only $15 billion. To expand to the number of stations we need for a complete EV United States, the government will need a budget of $45 billion. EVs may be better than gasoline cars with all of their benefits, but with the amount of charging stations that are required, the EV takeover is not possible. According to Metalary, for every 1% increase in the market penetration in the EV battery, there is an increase around 70,000 tons of lithium a year. 1 ton of lithium in 2020 is around $17,000. This results in nearly $1,190 million a year as an additional cost to the government. This is not saving money. Adding on, it takes nearly 8 hours for an EV to charge fully. For a gas car, it takes less than 5 minutes. If you think that EV saves you money, then think about all of the time you're wasting not getting to the place you need to be. Even if we had the budget for the $45 billion to upgrade to nearly 1.5 million new charging stations, which is already near impossible, you don't even have the many resources to make the stations. We don't have the money, nor do we have the materials. According to Electric in 2022, the Model S Tesla is estimated to have around 63 kilograms of lithium in a singular battery pack. Using that 63 kilograms, that is nearly equivalent to the lithium used in 10,000 cell phones. With this much lithium and the rise in lithium prices 2019, we are not really saving money here. According to Statista, there is around 750,000 metric tons of lithium in the United States. Keep in mind that this amount keeps decreasing as the lithium supply is decreasing. Lithium needs to be mined and it's not an easy process to distribute lithium. Keep in mind that there were 750,000 metric tons of lithium in 1 Tesla battery, 63 kilograms of lithium. Using every single ton of lithium in the United States, which would be disastrous, considering that lithium is a necessary resource, there would be approximately 11.3 million Tesla cars in the United States. According to Heads, there are 287 million cars currently in the US. Even if half of those cars were electrical, which is not true, the availability of lithium is not enough to sustain all the cars. Keep in mind, if all of our lithium supply into production of cars, which is not possible because we need lithium for cell phones, laptops, cameras, etc., there would not be enough lithium for the charging station, which would take a lot of lithium as well. All in all, if we put all of our lithium into EVs, there wouldn't be enough, and if we put all of our lithium into charging stations, there wouldn't be enough. Even if EVs are better, replacing all gas cars for EVs are impossible. Electric cars provide incredibly important benefits. They help the environment, they reduce noise pollution, and they can prevent many other problems. But this doesn't matter if it's not possible to switch. It's not possible because there's not enough money and not enough supplies. Thank you.
All right, now it's time for 2 minutes of cross-examination.
All right, Kevin. So my first question for you is that, do you know how much, can you repeat how much lithium is in the United States? Just the United States.
Oh yeah, just the United States is 750 tons of lithium.
Okay, and so you also said that using that amount of lithium in the United States, you can only produce 11.9 million Teslas, right?
11.3.
Right.
11.3. Yeah.
11.3 million, okay?
Yeah.
And may I ask to know what's the source and the date for where you got your information for the 8-hour charging?
The 8-hour, that was green gas in 2021, I believe.
2021, okay. Got it. No more questions. Thank you.
All right, and we'll move on to the refutation speeches.
I would prefer to not take my preparation time right now.
Okay.
Okay. So this is my refutation speech against Kevin's claim that it is not possible to make the switch. Contrary to that belief, it is actually very possible to make the switch. First of all, Kevin mentions how the US needs a budget of $45 billion in order for 1.5 million charging stations. Well, right now, according to Statista.com, the US is investing $60.3 billion in the oil and gas industry. And since we are switching from gas cars to electric vehicles, we would not need to invest that much money into the oil and gas industry anymore. So cutting half of that cost, therefore, it is possible to transfer that amount of money to start the process of replacing gas cars with EVs. Second of all, Kevin also mentioned that it will take nearly 8 hours to charge an EV, and that was in 2021. However, that information is now outdated, since in 2022, the fastest EV charger only takes just 1 hour to fully charge, according to the US Department of Transportation. Not only that, but technology can and will advance, as proven by history. So it is entirely plausible that in the near future, charging an EV will take less time than it does to refuel a gas car. Lastly, Kevin said that even if we have the money, which we do, there will not be enough lithium to power the EVs. While this is partly true, since there is not enough lithium in the US, you have to look at a whole picture. According to Investing News in 2022, that yes, tons of places around Earth has lithium deposits, not just in the US. In fact, there are 39 million tons of mineable lithium on Earth. If we could just trade with other countries and get and use a ninth of the total amount of the lithium, we will have enough to power all of the 278 million cars in the US into EVs. And we will still have about 34 million tons of lithium left. So there will be no worries for lithium to build other necessities such as computers and tablets and phones. Now I will move on to defend my speech. In my first point, I mentioned how EVs are better for the environment, and they still are better for the environment. Even though in manufacturing, the vehicle themselves will produce greenhouse gases, it will be significantly less, I repeat, significantly less than gas cars in their lifetime. So EVs will still be better for the environment than gas cars. All in all, I have effectively refuted Kevin's claim and defended my speech. Please vote for the pro side. Thank you.
Okay, and now we'll move on to Kevin's refutation.
I'll take a minute of prep time, please.
All right. Okay, Now it's time for your refutation.
Bowen's points are very solid. The only thing is his argument relies on pure assumptions. First of all, the government is in tremendous debt. We do not have enough money for $30 billion for the charging station, not including all the extra costs that we would have for include car batteries, parts, factories, as well as how to recycle the cars, which I'll get into later. In fact, the government currently has $28.43 trillion of federal debt. Yes, trillion. Bowen has said that the fastest EV charger takes only 1 hour. He also says that technology can advance in history. Although this is true, this is an assumption, and even if it does take 1 hour and less in the future, this does not help his case that it is possible to switch. Bowen also said there's a lot of mineable lithium else in the world, not in the United States. The key in this point is mineable. We haven't mined it yet, and this will disrupt the climate so much, in fact, that 2.2 million liters of water is needed to produce 1 ton of lithium, according to Era News in 2022. Lithium extraction also harms soil and could cause air contamination. This climate change thing will not progress. With all the money that the government is using on public transportation, libraries, playgrounds, schools, etc., and with our other world problems like hunger, gun problems, mental awareness, etc., we do not nearly have enough money. Bowen said that electric vehicles are preferred because of the lack of noise, that many people prefer the car because of lack of engine noise, which is important because it helps mental health. Well, in fact, many people prefer the engines. There are millions of car collectors who would kill to hear the sound of a 1971 Porsche 917 in person. Bringing back to the point where I said we don't have enough money to recycle, I mean, what are we going to do about the millions of gas cars currently? Bowen is proposing we switch completely to EV, which would leave hundreds of millions of cars to be tossed in the dumpster. You think, oh, we can just recycle these cars safely by disposing the parts. You may think that this is feasible, but with the 287 million cars in the United States alone, how are we going to recycle all of it? You can't just imagine these cars will be replaced in the snap of a finger with electric ones. It's all a fantasy and not possible. Another solution to this problem, oh, we can just ask all those families that own the gas cars to recycle these cars themselves. May sound like a good idea, but currently the government cannot control people from recycling their piece of paper. How are we going to control people from recycling 287 million cars in the United States? All these things still end up in the dumpsters. How are we going to replace all these gas cars? Let me also tell you about the negative effects of lithium. Lithium is a catalyst to horrible climate change. In fact, there may be alternatives to lithium batteries that will have little to no effect on the environment. But this doesn't matter if it's not even possible. If you replace all gas cars, the gas companies that supply gas as well as their stocks will inevitably plummet. It's inevitable because how will these companies make money? There's going to be a giant hole in the economy because these companies will go out of business. Exxon has a market cap of 362 billion, Shell with 180 billion, Chevron with 282 billion, BP with 88 billion, PetroChina with 280 billion, Sinopec with 271 billion, Armanico with 230 billion, excuse me, and so many more. I'm not including the 218,966 people who are employed in the gas industry in the US alone. What are you going to do about all of those jobs? This is just going to disappear if EVs become what is gas cars. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the closing speeches.
May I have all of my 2 minutes of preparation time?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, I am ready. I don't think I have to use up the whole time.
Okay. Feel free to start when you're ready.
To conclude, EVs clearly should replace gas vehicles because they're better for the environment, they increase our drivers' comfort, and overall, they're cheaper to recharge. While Kevin says that it is not possible to make the switch, because of my speech, I have proved that it is possible to make the switch. because we do have the money and we do have the material. Now, I'll take a moment to defend my speech. Kevin stated that if we go and mine lithium, it will cause more climate change. Well, if you look on the whole picture, eventually the electric vehicles will still produce less greenhouse gases than gas cars are doing right now. And I'm not saying that we need to immediately switch everything into electric vehicles. If we can get this process started, maybe we won't have to immediately fire off all of the 10.9 million people working in the oil and gas industry. I'm not saying exactly what you just said in your refutation speech. Now, not only that, but right now it is already necessary to make the switch, because if we don't make the switch, then eventually gas cars will destroy Earth's environment so much that it will be beyond repair. So vote for pro electric vehicles if you want a cleaner, better, and healthier future. Thank you.
Okay, and then we have the final closing speech.
I'll take the rest of my prep time, please.
Okay. Okay. Now it's time for the final speech of the debate.
In conclusion, EVs should replace all gas cars. Yes, this is the exact thing that Bowen said, but I am 100% with him on this. His arguments are valid, and I'm so worried about the climate change in the future. The thing is, it's not possible, as proven as every single point I've made. It would be amazing if you could just switch to EVs completely without any holdbacks or consequences that will come. Switching to a complete EV world is not possible. It may sound good on paper, but it's all just a fantasy. We cannot just imagine switching and all cars returning to EVs. EVs are better than gas cars, yes, and EVs should replace gas cars in a perfect and utopian world. But we live in a dystopian world with infinite problems, and life is not a dream. Bowen's reputations to my sponsor are extremely vague. He's giving me incredibly small answers that will not help. He's saying that we don't have to do this immediately, while he is saying that the pollution gets worse every day. He's contradicting his own arguments here. Bowen has also not responded to my points that the government is in $29 trillion in debt, as well as all the information I gave about the economy crashing. We cannot just overlook the trillions and trillions of dollars already invested in decades of work building these gas companies. Sometimes things don't come to reality, and that's okay. If this does become a reality, though, the world's economy will crash, as stated before, because all of the gas companies and other countries that supply us gas will not generate any revenue from this industry, as well as other necessary resources. Most importantly, lithium will be depleted and cause incredibly negative emissions to the environment when mined. I'm not even talking about the money, we should not have enough. All in all, we cannot just imagine beautiful things. It's not possible. Just because we stay to gas cars doesn't mean we can't expand our EV industry to be what we want to be. Would you rather live in our world, which is not a utopia at all, but is stable, or would you rather live in the EV world, which in other words is just a fantasy one? Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, guys. And parents, before you log off, I just want to show you one more screen. Excellent job, everybody. Thank you so much for allowing me with the opportunity to work with your children these past couple of weeks. And if you want to contact Capital Debate sharing your experience, if you email team@capitaldebate.com, they'll be able to, I think, send you a parent survey that you can fill out. They love hearing from you. I had the class fill out a survey from their perspective, and corporate listens to all of these. They read them, They post a lot of the responses from the students who are involved with all of their camps. You'll see that on their website, on their social media. They also love hearing what the parents think about this as well. So thank you so much for this opportunity. I hope that you enjoyed the showcase and that you have a wonderful day. I will be stopping this live stream very soon.